Hey folks, it's Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365 Daily Update for today, Thursday, August 12th. It's going to be a short one today. I don't have a lot of, it's just been kind of a busy day, and I've got to get kids to soccer. That's a lot of you can relate to that. But I've got some good news and bad news on the coronavirus front. And you first glance at these numbers, it looks like unmitigated good news, frankly, but there's a little bit more to it. And so I just want to be clear that there's some. It's not all scary today. It's not all bad today, but it's not all great either. New cases today were at 1,460, which is slightly more than we saw yesterday. But the good news of that is that our average of daily cases actually came down slightly. So the past 7 days, our average of new cases is now 1,104. Yesterday was 1,120. So it's slightly down, not significantly. We still have a lot of cases. 1,460 new cases today is kind of a lot. However, the other piece of pretty good news is that our positive test rate is on a downward trend now for 4 days. That's the percentage of all the tests in the past 7 days that have returned positive results is now down to 6.9%, which is still very high, right? This is not sigh of relief time yet. I'm not going to breathe a sigh of relief until that number is below 3.0. Which it may get there, we may have turned a corner and we're going back, and if people are getting their masks back on and more people getting vaccinated, we might actually head down toward 3. We'll see. That was as high as 7.6, within the last, on August 3rd, it was 7.6. So not even 2 weeks, it's come from 7.6 down to 6.9, that's good. Because it was going up sharply before. Now it's coming down, not quite as sharply, but it's coming down. That's the main thing. That's what we want to see. The bad news now. 4 new deaths yesterday. Again, that doesn't sound like a lot. Back in the winter, November, December, January, we were doing 30 and 40 every day. So 4 seems like a tolerable number. But it's 4 more than the day before. You know what I mean? It's like, again, we're looking at trends, not individual numbers. We want this to be 0. Ideally, once we get all the vaccine done, this will be more or less 0. Right? Now, we were at 2 deaths per day on average over the past 7 days. That's going to continue to go up. The question is how high. Right? It's the surge in cases will inevitably lead to a surge in deaths, a month or 2 later. So come September, October, that might be 10 a day, it might be 20 a day. We'll have to wait and see. But it's kind of a foregone conclusion at this point. There's not much we can do about it, because a lot of those deaths are happening now, and we won't know about them for a few more weeks. But that's what's going to happen. Now the other, and then related to that, hospitalizations. We didn't get a hospitalization update yesterday for whatever reason. But yesterday was 2 days ago, was 525 people were hospitalized. And then yesterday it still said 525. And today it's 600, which they say is 33 more than yesterday, or a 33, person increase in the past 24 hours, which means yesterday was 567, which would have been a 42% increase since the day before that. So we've gone up 75 people in 2 days. We've also gone up 212 people in the past 7 days. It's about a 30% increase in the past 7 days. Of those 600, 178 are in ICUs. That's 17 more. That's a 10% increase in ICU beds in 1 day. In COVID cases, going to the ICU, intensive care, 10% increase in 1 day. That's 61 more than a week ago. which is a 50%, 52% increase in ICU occupancy among COVID patients. So, we're getting to the point now where we're not overwhelming the system yet, right? We have to get several thousand people before that happens. But we're at the point where, most regions are seeing less than 10% of their beds currently available. For example, in Fox Valley, there are 104 ICU beds. Only 8 are immediately available, less than 10%. Which means it's with COVID surging and hospitalizations are going up, hospitals are going to have to start making decisions to keep beds available for COVID patients. Almost all of whom, by the way, are unvaccinated. So you could have hospitals start to make decisions like we're not going to do cancer surgeries. We're going to postpone surgeries. We're going to postpone elective procedures. We're going to not admit emergency cases. We don't have to, So you can make the hospitals make that decision, or you can make that decision yourself by getting vaccinated and keeping yourself out of that hospital bed that is needed for somebody else. Right. This is a good question from Tracy. Canada's borders open and they require negative test. But if healthy people getting the required test is contributing to the lower positive rate, I don't. Yeah, I think there's two questions in there. First of all, is an increase in testing. Does that account for the lower positive test rate? And the answer is yes. More testing is going to drive down the positive test rate. And that's one of the reasons we want it to stay low, because a low positive test rate indicates two things. It indicates relatively lower number of cases, but also a relatively higher amount of negative tests. It means you're testing enough. If you're testing a lot all the time, your positive test rate is going to go down. A higher positive test rate means you're not testing enough. So you're absolutely right that a lower positive test rate usually means we're doing more testing. Not quite enough yet, but we're getting there. It is not easy to get a test, I'll be honest with you. I thought it was, and I came on this show and I said some wrong stuff the other day. I thought you could just walk into Walgreens and get a test. The way you can basically walk in anywhere and get a vaccine these days. You can't. A lot of healthcare providers will give you a test. If you go into the doctor for any other reason, like they'll give you a test just to make sure. So, so it's clear that testing has increased along with this surge. People are getting worried, scared. More people are getting exposed, if not infected, right? I wouldn't think that has much to do with Canada necessarily. I don't think there's that many people in Wisconsin trying to get to Canada right now. I think I'm sure that's part of it. And I'm sure there's some travel. I'm sure people are going on vacation. These sort of late summer vacations people do. A lot of people are probably getting tested either right before they go on vacation or right when they get back from vacation. I'm sure that's got something to do with it. And I'm sure it's just people hearing about this surge of cases and getting freaked out and going to get tested when they have a little sniffle, whereas before they would have just thought it was allergies, and now they think it's you're more likely to get tested. Margie asks, are home test results included in official numbers? No, they are not, because the county or the state has no way to know that you tested positive. If you take a home test and test positive or negative and call DHS or something to say like, hey, I just took a home test, it was negative, like they're not going to count that. They don't know that. It's not lab confirmed, right? The home tests are pretty accurate. The Bantix one that you get at Walgreens is like 85% accurate on positive results and 98% accurate on negative results. But it's still not laboratory confirmed. Like the DHS can't confirm that you did it right. or that your laboratory dining room laboratory conditions were perfect. So they would not accept that. What they would tell you, if you got a positive home test, they would say go get a test, go get a real test, isolate, but go get a real test, and then that test that is, because the state has specific lab partners that they work with, whose results they're tracking. Right, so you go to Walgreens or CVS and get your test. That goes to Exact Sciences or whatever lab partner the state has, and those are the ones that get plugged into the state data. Good question. I wouldn't discourage people from getting home tests. Make your appointment. If it takes you a couple of days to get an appointment at Walgreens and you're still having symptoms, get the home test if you can. It's like $25. And then if that's negative, you're probably okay. Like, you should probably still be careful. You should probably still keep your distance from folks if you have symptoms of something. But chances are you're all right. If that home test is positive, I would say isolate until you get the lab confirmed test back negative. Right? This is not shocking that they ran out. I bet lots of people are stocking up a little bit. There was a handful at Walgreens the other day when I was there, but I think they're going to become very popular very quickly. So that is all I have for you today. I got to run. Thank you for your attention. Go to Madison365.org for all the latest news, local news, state news, national news. We got some more good stories coming for you tomorrow. If you have a great story you would think we need to tell, shoot us an email, news@Madison365.org. I'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place, probably around 5 o'clock or so tomorrow. And until then, take care. We'll see you soon.
This is 365 Media.